The history of the Muslim world contains many remarkable civilizations, dynasties, and leaders whose influence shaped global culture, politics, and religion for centuries. Among these, the Mamluks stand out as one of the most unique and powerful military and political forces in Islamic history. Rising from enslaved soldiers to rulers of Egypt and Syria, the Mamluks preserved the heartlands of Islam during one of its most vulnerable periods and built a flourishing civilization grounded in Islamic scholarship, justice, and strength. Their story is one of transformation, sacrifice, loyalty, and ultimately decline, but their contribution to Islam remains deeply significant. The word Mamluk comes from an Arabic term meaning owned or possessed. Historically, Mamluks were military slaves, often of Turkic, Circassian, or Central Asian origin, who were purchased as young boys, converted to Islam, and trained to become elite warriors. Unlike ordinary slaves, Mamluks were not domestic servants. They were carefully educated, taught Arabic, Islamic values, and trained extensively in horsemanship, archery, and military tactics. The Islamic perspective on their role is important. Although Islam prohibits the enslavement of free Muslims, it allowed the use of non-Muslim prisoners of war or captives in certain contexts, provided they were treated justly, taught the religion, and given the opportunity for emancipation. The Mamluk system grew within this framework. Over time, these young warriors developed fierce loyalty to their commanders and to the Islamic realms they served. The earliest use of Mamluks can be traced back to the Abbasid Caliphate, which employed Turkic slave soldiers for protection, but it was in Egypt under the Ayyubid dynasty, founded by Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, that the Mamluks emerged as a dominant force. Salahuddin recruited large numbers of them to strengthen his military, recognizing their discipline, unity, and bravery. The Mamluks transitioned from soldiers to rulers in the 13th century during a time of extreme instability for the Muslim world. After the death of the Ayyubid Sultan al-Salih Ayyub, political conflict arose among the elites. In 1250, the Mamluks seized control of Egypt and appointed Shajar al-Dur, the widow of al-Salih Ayyub, as ruler. Though her reign was short, it marked the beginning of Mamluk dominance. One of the greatest achievements of the Mamluks was their defeat of the Crusaders. Under the leadership of Sultan al-Zahir Baybars, the Mamluks expelled Crusader forces from key strongholds along the Levantine coast. Their success had a profound Islamic significance. They protected Bayt al-Maqdis, Jerusalem, and surrounding regions from renewed Crusader conquest. They preserved Muslim control over vital trade routes and cities. They prevented Western expansion into the heart of the Muslim world. Baybars himself became a symbol of Islamic resistance, firm in military strategy, just in governance, and committed to supporting Islamic scholarship and institutions. Perhaps the most defining moment in Mamluk history came in 1260 at the Battle of Ain Jalut. At this time, the Mongol Empire, one of the most destructive forces ever to threaten the Muslim world, had already destroyed Baghdad in 1258, ending the Abbasid Caliphate. Many feared Islam's heartlands would fall completely. The Mamluks, led by Sultan Saif al-Din Qutuz and General Baybars, confronted the Mongols in Palestine. Their victory was unprecedented. It was the first major Mongol defeat in open battle and a turning point in world history. This victory is seen as a divine mercy, rahmah, upon the Ummah during a time of despair, a protection of Islamic civilization, knowledge, and culture, a demonstration of how Allah elevates people based on their sincerity and effort, regardless of their origins. Had the Mamluks not stopped the Mongols, the Islamic world could have been irreversibly transformed. Unlike traditional dynasties, Mamluk leadership was not inherited biologically. While some sons of Mamluk served in the army, no Mamluk could be born into Mamluk status. It required being purchased, trained, and initiated through the military system. This created a unique hierarchy. The Sultan, chosen from among the most powerful Mamluk emirs. The emirs, senior commanders and administrators. The Mamluk regiments, highly trained soldiers, loyal to their ustad, master, and regiment. Though this system produced political instability, it also ensured that leadership was earned through skill, intelligence, and loyalty rather than lineage. The Mamluks saw themselves as protectors of Islam. They revived the weakened Abbasid Caliphate by inviting a surviving Abbasid prince to Cairo as a symbolic caliph. They also built and supported madrasas, ensuring the preservation of Islamic jurisprudence across the 4 Sunni legal schools. Patronized scholars such as Ibn Taymiyyah, al-Subki, al-Makrizi and many others, invested in waqf, charitable endowments, to fund mosques, schools, hospitals and Sufi lodges. They controlled the trade routes between Asia, Africa and Europe. Cairo and Damascus flourished as centres of textile production, spice and silk trade, artistic craftsmanship, architecture, major structures like the Citadel of Cairo, the mosques of Baybars, Kalawun and Sultan Hassan, and countless urban developments remain visible today. Despite their achievements, the Mamluk Sultanate began to weaken in the 15th century. The merit-based system that once gave the Mamluks strength began to cause fragmentation. Emirs competed for power. Sultans were regularly deposed or assassinated. Factionalism between the Burji, Circassian, and Bahri, Turkic, Mamluks destabilized the state. This internal weakness made the empire vulnerable. When European powers established maritime routes around Africa, the Mamluks lost control over the profitable Red Sea spice trade. Their revenues dwindled, making it harder to maintain the large military and administrative systems they relied on. The final blow came from the rising Ottoman Empire. At the battles of Majd-Dabik 1516 and Ridaniya 1517, Ottoman forces defeated the Mamluks. Sultan Tumen Bey II, the last Mamluk ruler, was executed. From an Islamic perspective, the fall of the Mamluks can be understood through historical patterns described in the Quran and Sunnah. Nations rise through justice, unity, and obedience to Allah, and they fall through corruption, division, and injustice. Yet the Ottomans did not destroy the Mamluks entirely. Amazingly, many Mamluk families continued to serve as local governors and administrators in Egypt under Ottoman rule for centuries. Even after losing political power, the Mamluks remained influential. Some became large landowners and merchants. Others held administrative or military positions under the Ottomans. Their descendants formed a respected elite class in Egypt. It was only after Muhammad Ali Pasha's massacre of the Mamluks in 1811, a dramatic and treacherous event in which he invited the remaining Mamluk leaders to a celebration and had them ambushed, that their political presence ended. However, even after this event, the term Mamluk lived on as part of Egyptian identity and history. The Mamluks left behind several key legacies. Their defeat of the Mongols and Crusaders safeguarded Muslim lands and preserved Islamic civilization. The Mamluk period saw the flourishing of Quranic recitation sciences, Hadith studies, Islamic jurisprudence, architecture and calligraphy. Many institutions they built still function today. Young boys who arrived as slaves rose to become sultans, scholars and administrators. Their lives reflect the Islamic teaching. Indeed, the most honoured of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you. Quran chapter 49 verse 13. The Mamluk military structure influenced later Islamic armies and became a model of organisation and elite warrior training. The story of the Mamluks is one of the most extraordinary chapters in Islamic history. From enslaved soldiers to rulers of one of the most powerful empires of their time, they embodied resilience, courage, and loyalty to the Muslim world. They defended Islam during moments of existential threat, fostered a brilliant cultural and intellectual renaissance, and built institutions that preserved Islamic scholarship for centuries. Though internal weakness and shifting global dynamics led to their decline, their achievements remain engraved in the history of the Ummah. The Mamluks demonstrated that Allah raises whom He wills, and that sincere effort and unity can transform even the most humble beginnings into lasting greatness. Their legacy continues to inspire Muslims today as an example of how strength, justice, and devotion to Allah can shape the destiny of nations.